gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's October the 19th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt, our series continues today, taking a look at the Miami Hurricanes in the first half of the 2022 season. And one of the coolest things that I think we're doing as part of this series is on the website today, and that is a look at the freshman class and what kind of impact each of these individuals is making. And the reason it's interesting is whenever a recruiting class gets completed each December or each February, there's always an enormous amount of speculation as to what members of that class will make an impact on the next football season as true freshmen. And the answer is usually ends up being very, very few of them. And so I really thought that this was a great exercise for us this morning, and we can go through some of them really, really quickly. Let's just do it in alphabetical order and start with Wesley Basaint. And he has not made that big of an impact to this point in the season, Matt, but we're starting to see signs that Wesley might be coming on and might impact the second half of the season, which would be a great accomplishment for him as a true freshman.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to Azubi, who's my true freshman pick of the year. Excellent pickup for CaneSport. He was only a 2-star recruit. A lot of other programs sort of overlooked him, but he sent us his highlights, and we really liked how he wrote the stories. We took a chance on him, and I take full credit as a talent evaluator for discovering his talent and bringing him on board. He's only playing about 30% of the reps. We're going to try to get him up to 50% so I can go on vacation. But he's certainly on pace, and is per the MFF rankings, with substituting the P for the Matt, of course, per MFF grade system, he's at an 87 and Gary Ferman's at an 81. So he's certainly ahead of the curve, ahead of the veteran already. I think he'll be starting over the veteran very soon. So very excited about him. As for Wesley Basaint, he's played 65 of 364 reps, 18% of the time. He's grading out per the actual PFF, Pro Football Focus, not the MFF. Which now I think of it, MFF sounds like a short for a curse word. So I'm going to stop using that. So per PFF, I think he's in the 80s. 80s is considered really, really, really good. 90s is elite. High 80s is elite. So the reps he's getting, he's doing really well. Coaches have really praised him. I think the fear for a lot of coaches is that these freshmen don't know what they're doing, to which I respond, well, neither do your veterans. Play the young guys. He's doing great. I think he should start. I think he should play more. I think he should be getting more than half the reps. Call me crazy.
All right. That's an easy request. Crazy Matt Shodell. Ja'Cory Brown, you got a few plays in the Bethune-Cookman game and a few plays against Virginia Tech the other day. Matt, I got to believe that he, at the end of the day, will get redshirted. He can play in 2 more games without losing his year of eligibility. To me, that's what makes sense. I can't imagine that it makes sense to blow a year of his eligibility for a couple plays here and there, running the football into the middle of the line. So I would expect to see Ja'Cory 2 more times this year. What games they choose to do it remains to be seen. So we'll see what happens there. Trevante Citizen, obviously not much to talk about there. He's missing the season due to injury. Matt, Inez Cooper is a kid that we were hearing a lot of buzz about a few weeks ago. And he actually didn't grade terribly in, the Middle Tennessee game. His grade was okay, but he really struggled at Virginia Tech. And I don't know how that's going to impact how much we're going to see him the second half of the season. But Inez is clearly a kid that they like quite a bit.
Okay, well, first of all, Jacory, not Jacory, Jacory, because apparently he feels his parents spelled his name wrong. Yeah, I agree with you. He will redshirt, but again, redshirting is not what it used to be. You know, if somebody's that good, they're not. There's no such thing.
But
there's no such thing as a great.
Let me ask you a question. Just because everybody says what you just said, and I totally disagree. I think way too many years are blown needlessly. And for example, if Jacory is not a 3 and done into the NFL, which I haven't seen any signs that that's going to be the case, a 5th year down the road could be a good thing for him. You don't know. You don't lose your flexibility by saving the redshirt year. You could still leave after 3 years of college if that is what you so choose. But to waste a year of a kid's eligibility for no reason, just to run a couple plays, to me makes absolutely no sense. And I think there is a difference. And I think there's way too many assumptions made on kids that they're just going to be 3 and done and going to the NFL, and they get hurt. Other things happen. They get there. They recruit a better player at that position. Now they got to go to the portal. I think it's always in kids' best interest to keep as many years of eligibility as they can, unless they are playing a lot.
Here's why you're wrong, as usual. You're using a system that worked maybe 20 years ago, right? And it's been constantly changing ever since. What we are facing now as a country, as a college football country, not just Miami, a college football country, if you have a player who comes in and stays for 5 years to become a redshirt senior starter, I assume, because if you're a redshirt senior, you're not starting, well, you've just taken up 5 years of one of the very valuable 85 scholarship spots that could have gone to 2 different recruits in that time that could be 3 and done, could have been contributing a lot more than some 5th year guy sitting on the bench. So you have to assume 5th year senior who you redshirted has to be really, really good, right? For him to reach that 5th year where you're actually using the redshirt year, because if it's just 4 year, if it's a junior redshirt, well, why'd you redshirt him? He's going to leave anyway, right? So it has to be a 5th year senior for the redshirt to count and actually matter. So 5th year redshirt better be a great player. Well, if he's a great player, Gary, guess what? He's probably in the NFL. And if he's not, they've already had a chance to recruit 2 different players at that position over those 5 year cycles, hypothetically. If one of them's a 3 and done, which is the best players you want, 5 stars, 3 and done to the NFL, move on to the next, you're missing 2 potential spots that could have hit instead of an average 5th year senior. You can shake your head all you want. That's why people don't redshirt anymore. They want the space off their rosters. And guess what?
Will Mallory, for starters, says hello.
We saw it coming years ago when they used to redshirt the better player and play the worst player because they want the worst player off the roster. And a 5th year senior now, they don't really exist as great players. That's just the way it is now.
Says hello.
In the old days, you keep saying Will Mallory, he's some amazing player. In the old days,
Will Mallory is a very important player on this team.
He's grading at a 36% as a blocker, and he catches some passes. That's great.
This is his 5th year. He is a very important part of this team.
I don't disagree, but I also don't think he's a world beater.
I think this is DJ Scapes' 5th year, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you something.
Starting at right tackle, Matt.
I would rather see, and call me crazy, which people will.
Crazy.
I would rather have, and I know, God forbid, you end Will Mallory's NFL aspirations. Okay, he's a late round NFL draft pick, maybe. Okay, maybe not type end speed, not great hands, can't block. I mean, that's the truth.
But he's a very important college football player.
Here's what I would have done. I would have used Elijah Arroyo and Jaleel Skinner very early on as your main 2.
Elijah got playing, but he's not ready to play.
He's not ready to play.
You keep wanting to put young kids out there. He drops as many balls as he catches.
Correct. Well, would you rather he gets that fixed this year now that you're 3 and 3, or worry about it next year when he still can't catch the ball?
Are you going to take care of all these fans when they all start jumping off buildings if this team loses 6 games this year? You're being very flippant. The season is totally irrelevant. No, it is not irrelevant.
Why?
The team's 3 and 3 right now. And people are ready to drown themselves.
You can't run the ball because you got a tight end with a 36% blocking grade who doesn't want to block. That's Will Mallory. I'm sorry. He likes to run routes and he likes to catch the ball. And when he catches the ball, he's very physical. But he sure isn't physical when he's run blocking, Gary. And you've got a young, amazing talent.
You don't think he contributes to potentially winning this year?
As a receiver, absolutely.
That's absurd.
As a receiver, I didn't say as a receiver.
Yeah. He's as important.
You're
as
acting like he's
on offense.
But my point is, he's not this amazing NFL talent. He's been here.
He's a very important part of a team trying to win games. That's not just mailing in the 2022 season because they're not good enough to win the ACC title this year.
You're missing the point. I'm not saying he's not helping the team win. I'm saying he's been here for 5 years and he's okay. He can't block. Okay, he drops passes.
He's better than okay. He doesn't drop many. He drops one every now and then, but he's targeted a lot. He makes a lot of great catches. He makes a lot of big plays.
Let me ask you a question. He's so great. He's so great. Who would you rather have next year? If Will Mallory could come back or Jaleel Skinner could come back, but you can only pick one next year, who are you taking, Gary Ferman? You're taking Jaleel Skinner.
Absolutely not.
Oh, you're crazy.
Not until he shows me he can catch a football.
That tells me everything I need to know.
Any level of consistency.
I'm done with this conversation. Move on to the next.
No, man.
Can't even talk to you.
Like, how do you know that all these drops that you're seeing are not?
I know it
for his whole career.
Because I know what Will Mallory's ceiling is. I've seen it for 5 years, and it's okay. But I think that Jaleel Skinner's ceiling is going to be way higher. I'll take Jaleel on my roster next year.
Catch the football, Matt. You got to catch the ball.
I'll take Jaleel. I don't care. Neither can Will. I'll take Jaleel on my roster next year. You can have Will Mallory.
Okay.
Let's see what fans
and when he drops the ball to beat Texas A&M at Hard Rock Stadium, and you lose that game because he drops a key pass, then what?
If Will Mallory caught that pass against Middle Tennessee, they're down by 7 points, I think, at that point, and he dropped it. 4th down and 2. Dropped the pass to the goal line.
They didn't lose Middle Tennessee because of a drop pass. They lost
Middle
Tennessee because they spotted them 38 points and they gave up 4 touchdown passes.
You're the one who just brought up a drop pass costing a team a game. I'm just pointing out. Will Mallory did
an example. You want to dispatch a very valuable part of the team. You go talk to Stephen Field and you ask him about Will Mallory and just say, Stephen Field, is Will Mallory discardable in your mind? Can we just throw him off to the side? He'll look at you like you're out. Like he'll look at you like everyone else is looking at you right now through their screens. Like, Matt, you're out of your mind. Like, yeah, he struggles as a blocker, but he is a very, very important piece of the offense and has been. And he will impact the second half of this season quite likely, probably much more than Jaleel Skinner, simply because Jaleel does not catch the ball with any consistency. But we don't need to go on and on about these 2 tight ends. I mean, it's an absolute waste of people's coffee and donut right now. But the point is that I was making is I think, and I know that a lot of people will disagree, that way too many years of eligibility are blown flippantly, and it comes back to bite you down the road when the guy might not be ready to go and get drafted high in the NFL draft, but he might be able to come back and be a very important part of a winning college football team. Go talk to the people at Wake Forest, for example, where they are beating everybody because they redshirt their kids and they develop their team and they have a 5th-year senior class pretty much every year that carries them through a lot of very important games in the ACC.
You literally just said you want good enough players that are redshirt seniors. I want great players who are juniors or redshirt sophomores, whatever. If you want to redshirt somebody, fine, but I want them gone within 3 or 4 years. If they're that great, they will be gone. If they're average, they're going to be here as 5th-year seniors. I don't need them, man. I want the great players.
Jackson Carver is a great tight end next year, and Will Mallory happen to be coming back, and Jackson Carver is way better than Will Mallory. He would be playing anyway. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt that you redshirted Mallory. Is my point.
You're incorrect. It's taking up a spot in the team that you can use on somebody else.
You're not taking up a spot because unless the player is a high quality player that's important to your team, you are not going to invite him back for that 5th year anyway. He is going to graduate. Assuming he graduates on time, you are not going to want him back for that 5th year. You are going to tell him we can't give you your 5th year, and it's over, done. And there's a lot of guys like that on this football team right now that are going to be told that at the end of the season, and I think they're going to purge 20 guys at the end of this year.
But here's the other thing. Here's the thing you mentioned, like Wake Forest, for example, right? And Virginia Tech used to do it also. Teams that aren't consistently great, you'll see them with a lot of redshirt seniors every 3, 4, or 5 years because they try to do that sometimes in order to have a great team once in a while. Like Virginia Tech used to be great every 4 years. Remember, it was like a cycle, and then they'd have all these redshirt seniors and true seniors sometimes also with the redshirt seniors, and they'd be this veteran team, and just because they're 2 and 3 years older, they'd have one good year and then be back to square one. And Wake Forest, I'm sorry, Gary, is sort of like that. They were 4 and 5 in 2020, 7 and 6 a couple of years before that. Last year they were really good. This year they're really good, and they have older players, so I get it. But I want Miami to build not by redshirting guys and having average redshirt seniors. I want Miami to build by having great players who go to the NFL, and then you just do what Alabama does, and you get another guy who goes to the NFL a couple of years, after a year or two in the program. That's how you get a championship program, not from guys like Will Mallory. Like, I love Will Mallory as a person, as a receiver, but like, he's not the NFL caliber tight end that even a Brevin Jordan was, like, he just isn't. And he's good enough. He's good enough. If you want a decent tight end, he's certainly good enough. But like, I want great for this program. I want great. I don't need
and having Will Mallory as a fifth-year,
I don't want guys that are
senior this
year
year,
just good enough.
And having Will Mallory as a fifth-year senior this year did not preclude them from trying to get somebody better and somebody great. And they thought they did that with Jaleel Skinner, but Jaleel has to learn to catch the ball first. All right, let me keep talking.
We're not talking about this year. We're talking about philosophically. You said philosophically we should have red shirts. And I'm saying
I hope red shirt Ja'Cory, okay? I'm not changing my opinion on that. All right, Chris Graves Jr., Jaden Harris, two young DBs. Jaden Harris got a look. It clearly was too early, and he got beat pretty badly in the Middle Tennessee game. We have not seen him since. Those are a couple guys that, I guess they're helping on special teams, so they can't be redshirted. We're starting to see some Isaiah Horton this week, so he clearly may get a chance in the second half. We'll see where that goes. Nigel E. Kelly is on the fast track. He's getting reps at every single game. And Matt, Nigel E. Kelly looks to me like he is going to be a big-time player at the University of Miami.
Don't you think he should redshirt?
Not Nigel E. Kelly. Absolutely not. No.
Even Ja'Cory, right? Your whole theory is so screwed up. Like, your whole thing is, let's win now. Don't play freshman. Let's win now. Well, what if Ja'Cory Brown, as the Wildcat quarterback, helps them win now, Gary? You'd rather redshirt him. Make up your mind, bro.
If you're extensively using Ja'Cory Brown, it means you're taking Tyler Van Dyke off the field.
I agree with that.
That's number one. And then number two, doesn't Jake Garcia deserve reps?
I agree with that too.
So no, I don't like that gimmick. I think it's okay for 4 games. They've done it twice. I think they can do it 2 more times. I think he should redshirt. But Nigel Kelly,
I agree 100%. 100%. But not that he should redshirt. I just agree he shouldn't play. But if Mario Cristobal and Josh Gaddis think that apparently he's got a package they feel works, you would say, I'd rather not try to win this game. Let's redshirt him. Like, that's like, make up your mind. Make up your mind. Because they seem to think he can help them win games. They played him in a very tight game. I don't
that kid's redshirt for 2 years. I'm sorry.
That game wasn't over when they brought him in last game.
Yeah. Okay, so Nigel Kelly on the track to superstardom. Yes. The coaches really like Matthew McCoy. I don't think you're going to see a lot of them this year. He's the guy that should redshirt. Cyrus Moss is another one who needs to gain 30, 40 pounds. The word redshirt is tailor-made for him. Ahmad Moten is another one that I don't think you're going to see a lot of this year. I think there's a decent chance that he will redshirt. Same with Kamari Rogers, another freshman cornerback. Jaleel Skinner obviously will not redshirt. And I think Markeith Williams is playing too much on special teams to redshirt. But anyway, so that's your freshman class. What you're seeing is there's only a sprinkling of them that are really impacting this season. That is normal. But it is interesting to take a look at it like that, just because of how much conversation there always is each January. Okay, another part of our series is that we're taking a look at is first half of the season, offensive and defensive MVPs, Matt. And really, slim pickings, man. I mean, you think, and Josh Gaddis kind of corrected us this week when somebody brought up the TVD had gotten off to a slow start, and Josh Gaddis kind of defended him, said he really wasn't that bad. But he is our offensive MVP. I don't think there's a better player on the offensive side of the football. So, it was an obvious choice. Henry Parrish was our runner-up, and Parrish hasn't really made a big impact the last couple weeks. So it's very slim pickings there. On defense, kind of the same. You're going to be shocked by who our runner-up is, but our defensive MVP is obviously Akeem Mesidor. The runner-up is Corey Flagg. And Matt, there is no way you would have predicted that in August.
No chance. Both of us thought that Caleb Johnson looked so good, and there was no way that Corey, they brought him in to be the starter. It's shocking that undersized, not that fast Corey Flagg has come through big time this year. but he's got a knack for it. He's got an instinct for it. It's sort of like, remember Jaquan Johnson, never the fastest safety, but such great instincts, just made plays, was in the right place at the right time. And that's Corey. I mean, I love it when somebody like that, who other players are faster, even stronger and more athletic, this is a guy who's just better because he sort of has that feel for the game, and good for him. But yeah, offensive MVP, it's sort of scary that the offensive MVP is a guy who really was quite honestly bad for 2 of the games and they only played 6 games. But that's a microcosm of this team. There's just not a lot going right, on both sides of the ball. It's just they're sort of just not, and they've mentioned being out of sync. They're definitely just not clicking on all cylinders all the time. Like I said yesterday, they're playing maybe a half of good football in a given game, and it's not really what you want to see. But again, as long as you start seeing progress, Virginia Tech to me wasn't progress. I thought they didn't look good. They looked good in the first half on defense for sure, but Virginia Tech's offense is just totally inept. I mean, that quarterback had guys open all over the place, just threw the ball nowhere near them. So not a great game to me. Now they're building up Duke like it's, Bear Bryant's former team, the greatest team they've ever seen. This is not the Duke that you've seen. This is their big line every time a player meets with the media now. This isn't Duke. This is, those championship Alabama teams from back in the day. Well, we have no chance. If you listen to them talk, like that's what you come away feeling. I'm going to predict Miami wins by 3 touchdowns.
All right, I think everybody will take that. All right, a few other stories that are part of this series. They're on the website today. We've got the top 5 Miami Hurricanes surprises at the midpoint of the season. We've got continued report cards on the wide receivers and the tight ends. So make sure you dig hard into this mid-season report card series that we're putting up, and I think you'll like some of those stories. All right, we got a few more things to talk about today. But first, let's hear from our friends at LifeWallet.
We here at LifeWallet take security very seriously. Our data security team is working constantly to make sure that your data is not accessed by anybody who you don't authorize.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, I'm
Excuse me, sir. Thank you.
I have talked to Steve, and he's thinking about it, and I'll be talking to CC. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We use leading technology standards like biometric data to make sure that only you have access to your data and your identity is protected. LifeWallet gives you access to your entire medical history and information at the touch of your finger, so that it can save you time and can save your life.
Data transfer complete.
All right, Matt, a couple other stories.
Hold on a second, because by the way, while that wonderful ad was playing, I just decided to go look at the Alabama depth chart to see how many redshirt seniors are starting, including kicker and punter. Out of those 24, how many redshirt seniors, Gary? I mean, I just looked at one team, so
Alabama, probably not very many.
2.
Yeah,
that's the recipe for success. Like you can redshirt guys all you want, but don't expect them to be redshirt seniors and be stars.
So what's wrong with even if it's 2? If it ends up being 2 that are left for 5th year, what's wrong with that? They're contributing to the football team.
My point is, it doesn't happen often, and that's not how you build a team. You're saying how everyone should redshirt to be a redshirt senior. I'm saying philosophically, that's not the way
I don't believe in wasting needlessly years of eligibility that you might wish you hadn't wasted down the road.
If a guy's not good enough, you sit him. But if a guy's good enough to help you, you could play him 5 games. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, you're sitting here saying, oh, so-and-so played 4 games. He can't play anymore because he's going to burn a red shirt. Well, if he's going to help you win a game and he's young, I'm saying play him, even though you're saying not to. Just because if he's not that great, I don't need him around as a redshirt senior. That's all I'm trying to say.
Corey could end up being here 3 or 4 years before he's ready to do more than be an occasional Wildcat quarterback. I mean, like, does it look that favorable right now? And I mean, maybe if Jake Garcia leaves and Jaden Rashada's not as good as people think, but like, you don't know how it's going to play out, so it doesn't hurt anything. Anyway, let me talk a little bit about a couple of these other stories. We've got a few more really good ones on the website today. Colby Young has been one of the surprises of the last few weeks, no question. Came out of nowhere in the North Carolina game, got expanded reps last week against Virginia Tech. We talked to him and take a look at his emergence as a maybe potential Miami Hurricane star. We'll see. I mean, he's not particularly fast. I'm not sure his 40 is much better than like 4.65 or something like that. But he does have size, and he's showing a knack for getting open, and pretty much everything he's doing so far is go routes, though. Let's be honest, and that's been what was.
Now you gave away the whole game plan. Don't give the opponent the game plan, Gary.
I think they know it now after 2 weeks, and but I think Josh Gaddis is going to try to expand that this week, because obviously it's hard to feature a receiver 40 some odd plays when he's just running go routes. So I think you're going to see you'll see his package expanded this week. We talked to Tyler Van Dyke, who talks about Colby Young among many other topics, and we also talked to Akeem Messidor, who, I've been yelling and screaming all year. I want to see more Akeem Messidor on the field, but Matt, when you talk to the defensive linemen, it's kind of interesting. They seem to like the rotation because they like feeling that they're effective when they're fresh.
They're lying. What player doesn't want to be on the field
for
more than
60%
of the reps? I mean,
that's what I think. I don't understand it.
Because if he says, I'd really rather play more, that doesn't really ingratiate him to Kevin Steele or anybody else, on that defensive staff. He's their best defensive player. If he starts saying, I'm not really tired, I'd rather play more reps, but, this is what they want to do. I mean, that's the truth. That's the truth, but he'll never say that. It's funny sometimes when media members ask these loaded questions and we expect some, crazy response from the player. These players, I know for a fact when these players come in, they're not even allowed to, glance at us from across Green Tree without already having been fully briefed by the media relations department on how to answer questions. And a lot of times, if there's a news of the day item that comes up that the media people at Miami know we're going to ask, you'll see them run up to whoever's supposed to talk to us and start whispering in their ear beforehand. And you know what they're saying? They're saying, hey, Matt Shodell's going to ask you about Tyler Van Dyke throwing the ball in the dirt constantly. So when he asks you that, be sure to say Tyler Van Dyke's the best quarterback you've ever seen. And they get up there and I say, why was Tyler Van Dyke throwing the ball in the dirt the whole game? And they say, Tyler Van Dyke is the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. And that's it. And then they move on to the next question. And it's a little disheartening. I like the old days when you could walk up to any player on the bench. And by the way, I never asked that question. I would not ask that question for those of you that think I actually would. But we used to be able to walk up to any player we wanted. No media people around. No media. I guess as Tyreek Stevenson would say, no media. What did he call it? Advisors. I guess no media advisors around. And we just go up to players and talk to them about what happened in practice and how they're progressing and da-da-da-da-da. And I miss those days, Gary Ferman. Those were great days.
Oh, my God.
Those were great days, weren't they?
Oh, they were awesome, man. Yeah. No, they were. They really were. I miss them, too. I mean, it really helped us do our jobs so much more. No doubt about it. All right. That's going to do it for this morning.
Well, one more quick thing. I know you got to go get your cafe con leche. One more quick thing. Kevin Steele hit it on the head. Kevin Steele, after his whole press conference was over, he comes up to Gary Ferman waving these statistical sheets and saying to Gary, do you know what went wrong in the fourth quarter? I don't even know what you said, but you guys had a nice conversation. And then Kevin Steele said something very interesting. He said, I like media people. He said, a lot of other coaches hate you guys, but I like you guys. And he says, you know why I like you guys? He says, because I'm friends with a couple of you, and I sort of know where you're coming from. All you want is to know that you're not saying something wrong, that you don't want to print something incorrect. And I'm just here to correct all your misperceptions and all your crazy theories and all your stupidity. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to fix your mental problems. And that's what he said to us after his, he really basically said that to us after his press conference this week. That's basically what he said.
The guy is absolutely awesome. He really is. All right. Well, that really is going to do it for Good Morning CaneSport this morning. We thank you so much for starting your day off with us. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.